Okay, good morning once again, and we'll continue from the previous class, and we'll discuss about short-run conditions for equilibrium in the perfect competition market. So we were discussing here, right? I said that please look at this diagram if you can find out something. So I hope you don't have any question. Okay, so we are talking about short run equilibrium, and short run equilibrium is mainly related to firms because we assume that the equilibrium in the industry is always given. Why it is given? Because in the industry the equilibrium level of price and quantity is determined by the market demand and market supply curves, and that is beyond the control or beyond the purview of the firm. That is why we are not focusing much on the industry equilibrium. We are just mentioning that industry equilibrium is based on equilibrium between demand and supply. Because in the market, our main concern is to understand the firm's equilibrium, not the industry equilibrium. That is why we will be talking about firms. Now, short-run equilibrium, for short-run equilibrium, there can be two ways in which we can understand. One is TR minus TC, that is the total method, and second will be equal to MR is equal to MC. The second method is based on MR is equal to MC criteria. The first method is related to TR minus TC. Now, equilibrium is always related to profit price determination. Whenever you say equilibrium, it means you want to understand that how price is determined or how profit is determined. So there are two ways in which you can decide this. One is TR minus TC method, that is the total method. So in this TR and TC method, we are saying that on the x-axis, we are taking the quantity. There is a origin point, and on the y-axis, we are taking TR and TC. Okay. Now, from the origin point, you will draw a line, which is the TR curve. And why it starts from zero or origin? Because we understand that if the price is zero, if the firm is not selling anything, then the revenue also will be zero. But the total cost of the firm is not zero at any point of time, and it is like this. So TC, why TC is a curve like this? Initially it is increasing, then it is decreasing, and again it is increasing. So because TC is based on the production cost, okay, this cost is actually not the cost of the firm which is only selling, but this cost also depends on the production cost. So initially the cost is higher than TR curve. You can understand that before point A, TC is greater than TR. That means if the firm is selling lower than X1, firm will be making a loss. Okay. Again, but at A point, there is no profit because TC is equal to TR. TC cuts TR and they are equal to each other. So at A, TC is equal to TR. Therefore, profit is equal to 0. But the objective of the firm is to maximize profit. So definitely A point is not the equilibrium point because this is the point where profit becomes 0. Or you can also say that this is the point where firm is actually breaking even. When TC is equal to TR, that is break even point for firm. Break-even point is a point when firm is able to cover the cost of production and selling through the total revenue in the market. So initially, suppose you start any venture, suppose you start a food joint. So initially, from the very first day, you will not be making profit, but for some time when you are selling, you can initially make loss or say very small amount of profit, but there will be a point where at least you are able to cover the fixed cost completely from the total revenue. Okay, so you know that there is a positive intercept on the y-axis which indicates fixed cost. So the time when the firm is able to generate revenue which is sufficient to cover the total fixed cost, that point becomes the break-even point. Now, break-even point we will understand again when we are talking from the per unit cost, and we will be discussing equilibrium. But if we are talking about total cost and total revenue, the point at which total cost and total revenue is equal to each other, that means firm is able to cover the fixed cost, then that point is known as the break-even point. Okay. I was just checking that if you are writing any question or something like that. I hope my voice is clear to you. Now there is another point, that is B. At B point, say quantity is X4. Now at X4, again TR is equal to TC. Okay. And if TR is equal to TC and the quantity is quite high, so by selling this much of quantity, a large quantity, firm is still not making profit. You can say that this can be a point of normal profit. Why it can be considered as normal profit, I will tell you after some time. But this point, B point, can be considered as a point of normal profit where firm is not making any extra profit. Okay, but consider the point between A and B. If you see the distance between TR and TC, you will find that after a point, as we move from A to B, initially the distance between TR and TC is rising. And suppose we are saying according to our diagram, this line, this blue line indicates the maximum distance between TR and TC. Okay, so let us call this E point. So at E, TR is greater than TC and maximum distance. So maximum profit. So E point is the point which indicates that the quantity is say X2. So at X2 quantity, firm is able to maximize the profit. So firm will always try to sell X2 quantity because the firm can maximize the profit as the distance between TC and TR is maximum. And you can see that between A and B point, the condition remains the same. TR is always greater than TC. That means between A and B, firm is making profit at every point. But which point will be the maximum profit point? So profit is maximized on point E because the distance between these two is maximum. Now, after E point, you can observe that the distance is gradually shortening. So, from A to E, when you move, the distance is increasing. That means firm is able to increase the profit if firm sells more and more. But after E point, gradually the profit is decreasing. Why? Because the distance between these two is decreasing. And B point is a point where firm is only able to earn normal profit because TR again becomes equal to TC. So I hope you are able to understand this. See, the major conclusion from this diagram is what? It is that profit is maximized at a point where I'm writing it, okay? And I hope in between you also keep on noting down what I'm trying to tell you, because otherwise you will miss or you will forget that how we have to write according to the TRTC approach. Profit is maximized at that level of output where the difference between TR and TC. TR and TC, always you will remember, TR is total revenue, TC is total cost. Okay, so please see this. the profit is maximized at that level of output where the distance between TR and TC, or the difference between TR and TC, is maximum. So uh, in the equilibrium situation, you have to find out that level of output which maximizes the profit. Okay, so there can be two ways in which you can understand the equilibrium: that price at which profit can be maximized, or that level of output at which profit can be maximized. Now, I told you that in this diagram, we are saying that B point is a point where normal profit, firm is earning normal profit. A point is the break even point, B point is the normal profit point. So why B point is normal profit situation? So the question is that what is normal profit? You say profit means total revenue is greater than cost, or in simple words, revenue is greater than cost. So the greater the revenue as compared to cost, better is the situation, more will be the profit. But we are saying that in the perfectly competitive market, firms as well as industry always make normal profit. So does normal profit mean zero profit? Because you said TR is equal to TC and therefore profit is zero. So is normal profit zero profit? The answer is no. Why the answer is no? Because normal profit is that profit which is included in the total cost of the firm. Okay, so normal profit is already the part of the total cost. Now, after this total cost, if you are earning something extra, that will become extra profit. Because when you calculate the cost, or say you can also write in this way, it means that normal profit is the normal rate of return on capital and remuneration for the risk bearing entrepreneur. Okay, so normal profit means always that profit which includes normal rate of return on capital and for entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is that person who is taking the risk of selling the product in the market. Okay, producer is not taking the risk, but entrepreneur is taking the risk because he is selling the product in the market. Therefore, entrepreneur needs remuneration. Entrepreneur needs some profit for himself, So that profit is included in the normal profit. So generally you say that total cost is equal to TFC plus TVC plus normal profit margin. Every time when the firm calculates the cost, normal profit margin is included along with cost. So if the firm is earning anything beyond this, that means the firm is making some abnormal profit. Okay. Now, this is actually taking place in the real world. How? Suppose you must be thinking that why when I'm saying TR is equal to TC, I'm not saying that total profit is zero, because try to understand the situation when you go to purchase something. You must have often experienced this, that you try to bargain with the shopkeeper. Whatever you are purchasing, suppose you are purchasing fruits, you are purchasing vegetables, or you go to purchase a dress for you, a shirt, or a pair of shoes, or say watch, or anything which you are trying to purchase in the market where you do bargaining. So sometimes you are successful in bargaining and sometimes you are not. So why bargaining is happening? So suppose you went to purchase this pair of shoes, and the shoe seller, this firm is telling you that the pair of shoes is of 500 rupees, and you try to bargain and you get it at 475. Or if you are too good at bargaining, maybe you have got it at 450 or 400. So how he will make profit if he is leaving 50 rupees or 100 rupees for you? Because the base price for every product includes normal profit margin. So whatever is given as discount to you, that is the extra part of profit, which sometimes is being left by the seller. Okay. So in that way, you should understand that every price is inclusive of profit margin, inclusive of minimum profit margin. Now, this profit margin is always minimum. They always keep a minimum profit margin. The seller will always keep a minimum profit margin when he is deciding the price. And if he is able to sell above that, then definitely he is making profit. Okay, but this TRTC approach, so I hope you have understood this TRTC approach. Shall we move further, or you want to understand anything? Okay, so let us move further. TR and TC approach has a limitation. What is this limitation? It cannot explain per unit profit. You can find out the total profit because TRTC will give you the total profit. But if you want to find out the per unit profit, it is very difficult from TR and TC. Generally, it is assumed that firm cannot calculate the TR and TC at any point of time. They can calculate per unit cost much easier as compared to total cost or total revenue. because total revenue and total cost will be a long-term activity. So one is it cannot explain per unit profit. The second is that it is difficult to calculate most of the time. Therefore, we use MR is equal to MC approach. Now, one important point, how you will get MR and MC? Because right now we have not introduced any equation. We are not working with an equation. Suppose we have, like yesterday I told you, we have a demand function, and then we can find out the TR function, and suppose the TC function is also given to us, then we can do some differentiation and then we can move further. But up to now we don't have any demand curve. So then how do we calculate this MR and MC? If TR and TC is only given, we know TR and TC only. So how we will derive the MR and MC? You know that MR curve can be derived by the TR curve. That is slope of MR is, slope of TR is the MR. Okay, slope of TR is equal to MR. So if the total revenue curve is given to you and you can find out the slope, then you can find out the marginal revenue curve. Similarly, MC curve can be derived by calculating the slope of TC curve. Okay, I told you this when we were talking about the costs. If you have total cost curve, you can find out the marginal cost curve. If you have the total product curve, you can calculate the average product and marginal product. So same thing you are doing here also. This was your TR. This was your TC. So suppose you try to find out the slope for TC. What you will do? You will draw tangent. Okay, to find out the TC, to find out the slope of TC, you have to draw tangent lines. So various tangent lines and the slope of these tangent lines will give you the marginal cost curve. Are you able to recall this? That slope of TC is equal to MC. Slope of TC is equal to MC. That is marginal cost. And one interesting point here. So you can find out the slope of TC. You will find various points because you can see that TC is like a curve showing different phases of production, right? So you will get a curve like this. Suppose you are calling it MC, because you have taken the slope of the TC curve. But see the TR curve. TR curve is a straight line passing from origin. So at any point on TR, if you try to draw a tangent line, this will be same as it is the TR. So tangent line will be same. That means the MR curve will be like this, because for a straight line, the slope is constant. So this is your MR. Okay. So with the TR curve, you can find out the MR, and you have this MC line. This MR is also AR, because this is a straight line, right? This is the demand curve also. MR line is the line which indicates the firm's demand curve also. Okay. And you have this marginal cost curve. So definitely from this TC curve, you can derive the AC curve also. What you will do? You will draw a line from origin to find out the AC. Okay. Slope of line from origin on TC will give you AC, and slope of TR will give you MR. Okay, A, B, C. So you derive per unit cost, and suppose you derive like this. This is your AC, this is MC, this is MR, AR. So now the condition for equilibrium. MR should be equal to MC. So MR should be equal to MC is this. Okay. So this is the point where you are actually getting the equilibrium. Price is already given at P star. Now you decide the quantity for the firm. By this condition, MR is equal to MC. So the point at which MR cuts the AC curve, that becomes the equilibrium point for the firm. Is it okay? Are you understanding? When is the TR vertical, Ritu? Why you are getting confused? TR is not vertical. TR is passing from the line, origin point, and this is an upward moving line. How it is vertical? Yes, you are right. Profit maximization means that firm is able to make abnormal profit. But this is the contradiction in perfectly competitive market. We say that in the perfectly competitive market, the goal of the firm is to maximize profit. But in case of perfect competition, firm has to earn only normal profit if the firm wants to be in equilibrium. So for short run and long run equilibrium, firm cannot have abnormal profit, but it will be having only normal profit. And why normal profit? There is another idea to it. Okay, normal profit margin. MC. Okay, let me check if there are some more questions. Yes, anyone saying something? Now, interesting. So, you are getting the right idea. So, you will be thinking a lot about normal profit. I guess in your family you have different types of businesses other than government jobs, or other than the situation where your family members are in office related jobs. Otherwise, everywhere, wherever in those families where you have a business, try to ask your father or try to ask your brother that how normal profit margin is calculated by the seller, or what does he think about profit. Okay, or you can talk to anyone, talk to the chai wala where you go every day, or talk to the chowmin wala where you go every day, or talk to the vegetable vendor. Try to understand that how they calculate their normal profit. So you will find that this is much beyond economics. Okay, you are saying very simply, you are saying TR is equal to TC, and this vegetable vendor is not going to uh, take a graph paper and draw the TR and TC and then equalize it or find out the point of maximum difference. So generally in practice, when they calculate their cost, some profit margin, 5%, 2%, depending on the market situation, 20%, 15%, that will be included in the price itself, in the cost itself, and that will determine the normal profit. So no firm operates on loss. Okay. But you have to also remember that in the short run, normal profit, abnormal profit, and loss, all three situations are possible. But in the long run, firm can make normal profit only, and normal profit means profit maximization in perfect competition market. If you will talk about another market, say you talk about monopoly. So monopoly, firm is not making normal profit, but firm is actually making abnormal profit. Or you talk about any other situation where there are limited number of buyers and sellers. You talk about banks, you talk about airlines, you talk about branded stores, you talk about any activity. Generally you will find that firms are always making a profit which is above the normal profit. But perfect competition market is a market which is very fair market, which is very ideal type of market. So although firms are making profit, but their profit is normal. That means they are not exploiting the customers. So normal profit is that profit which is earned without exploiting the customers. Okay, that's how you say globalization is about free and fair business and trade. That means everyone will be in a win-win situation, consumers as well as sellers. So buyers and sellers both are having benefits in this globalized world. That is ideally what we say. Actually, in practice, whether it happens or not, that's a different story. One more thing is actually relevant for us to maybe understand this time. You must be observing and experiencing or reading that during the lockdown period, during this pandemic, there are many businesses which have been closed down, but there are many businesses which are experiencing a slowdown. They have not closed their shops or they have not closed their business completely. All those who have not closed their business completely, that means they are able to survive somehow. But all those who are forced to shut down, that means they are not able to even make some minimum profit, which is required for them to survive in the market. So that's how there are different situations where firms sometimes make more profit, sometimes they make less profit. But perfect competition is a situation where firm will earn normal profit in the long run, and this is also related to profit maximization. So profit maximization can be defined as firm earning normal profit if only it is the perfect competition market. Okay. Now let us write in a technical way. Conditions for profit maximization in perfect competition market. A, MC should be equal to MR. Okay. B, slope of MC should be greater than slope of MR. Or MC should be cutting the MR curve from below. These are the two important assumptions. Okay, these are the two important conditions. This is essential condition. Profit can be maximized if and only if MC is equal to MR. There is no other situation for equilibrium or profit maximization. So this is compulsory. This is essential. First, you have to equalize MC with MR. But essential condition is not the sufficient condition. Okay. Only MC is equal to MR will not tell you that profit is being maximized. But only when the slope of MC is greater than slope of MR at the intersecting point, then it is the situation of profit maximization. So sufficient condition. So there are two conditions, okay? One is known as essential condition and the other is known as sufficient condition. Okay, let us see through a diagram this what I am actually telling you. MR, AR, AC, MC. Try to understand this. Okay. A, B, C, D, E. These are the various points where some or the other curve is cutting the other curve. At A point, you can find that MC is cutting MR. And our condition is also MC is equal to MR. So is A point of equilibrium? And the answer is no. Why? Because you can see that, see, MR is perfectly elastic because of the straight line TR curve. Okay. I'm saying straight line. I'm not saying vertical. Vertical always means that it is like this. Okay. So this vertical curve has a different characteristic, and we are not saying that TR curve is vertical. We are only saying TR curve is a straight line. Okay, so MR curve is horizontal. So slope remains constant. And at A point, MR is equal to MC. But see at this point, slope of MR is greater than slope of AC. Why? Because after A point, the MC is moving below the MR. That means after this point, MC is declining, MR is above. So when marginal revenue is above the marginal cost, that means firm is going to make profit. So it's feasible for firm to move further. Why to sell at a low quantity? Because there is a scope of increasing profit. So why firm will stop here? So at this A point, first condition, that is essential condition, is met, but the sufficient condition is not met. Okay, please pay attention to this. But slope of MR is greater than MC. And what does your condition says? Slope of MC should be greater than MR. Okay. Now see the B point. B point is the point where AC is cutting MR, but MC is not into the picture, and our condition is MC is equal to MR. So this point is ruled out. This point is again ruled out. Now see here. This is a point where AC is equal to MC. So both the per unit cost are equal to each other, but again, condition is MR is equal to MC. So we cannot be on this situation. Now see the D point. At D point, the essential condition, that is MR is equal to MC, is being met, because this is a point where MC is cutting the MR. And D point is the point where the sufficient condition is also being met, because the slope of MC is greater than slope of MR. That means after D point, MC is rising. Okay. Can you see one more thing, that beyond D point, MC is greater than MR. But before D point, can you observe that before D point, MR is greater than MC. So firm will always try to sell up to the point where MR is greater than MC. So why firm will sell at a point before D? So firm will sell here. And that's how you get the quantity. Equilibrium quantity, that is say X star. This is P star and this is X star. After this again you see AC is equal to MR, but MC is much above this. So our essential condition and sufficient condition both are not being met. So D is the point where condition is fulfilled. That is why we talk about two conditions, right? Two conditions for profit maximization. Now try to see this. At D point, AR is equal to MR is equal to MC. So this is the profit maximization situation for the firm. Now where is the AC? I don't know. Are you able to identify this? See this. There is a distance between MC and AC. And the distance between MC and AC is equal to per unit profit. So if you draw a line from here to here, this is abnormal profit because P is greater than average cost. At X star of output, price is greater than average cost per unit cost. Per unit average cost is much below the price. That means firm is able to earn more than the average cost. So therefore, this is a situation where firm is making abnormal profit. Okay, I will just draw two more diagrams and try to finish it. So we'll draw three diagrams again. Please be careful, draw the line straight, as straight as you can. MC, AC, MR, AR. This is E point normal profit. AR is equal to MR is equal to AC is equal to MC. Okay. MC, AC, AR, MR. Loss. Why loss? Because condition is this. MR should be equal to MC. And where is the AC? AC is above the price. So this becomes your loss. Abnormal profit. So price is greater than AC. Price is lesser than AC. All three possible in short run. A, B, C. But in the long run, only C is possible. So in the long run, firm will only earning normal profit, but in the short run, firm can have all three situations where it can earn abnormal profit, it can earn loss, it will earn normal profit. So if the firm is continuing making losses, firm can exit the market because entry and exit is free. If the firm is making abnormal profit, some new firms will enter. In both the situation, AC curve will move upward or downward. If more firms enter, total cost will increase. So therefore, average cost will also shift up. So again, this C situation will be achieved. If some firms leave the market, AC will move down. And therefore, again, this C situation will arise. Okay. So if firms are making loss, exit in the long run only. Short run, firms has to continue in business. but abnormal profit, entry in long run. Short run firm can earn abnormal profit, but in the long run, more firms will enter in the market and therefore only C will survive. So C is related to short and long run. Okay. I hope you are able to understand this. Okay. Please try to talk to these people whom you are referring actually. At least try to talk to someone. Or if you are actually into business, if you have the experience of selling something, then definitely we can discuss it. Production increases, price decreases, then farmers sell their vegetables at low cost. The first thing is that, Saurabh, why if the production is increasing, price will decrease? Price never decreases with increase in production. Okay, try to understand this. Okay, we'll continue in the next class. We'll discover some more points. In the next class, we'll discuss about break-even point and shutdown point. There are two things which we need to understand, and then we'll discuss few of your observations as you are mentioning that why price can decrease or why price cannot decrease or why profit margin, what I'm saying. Try to read something more related to this and we'll meet in the next class. Okay, thank you.